Well, former Prime Minister Scott Morrison has proposed to expand the Aukus Defence Pact into outer space. He's suggesting the move could help deter aggression from China and Russia in the space domain. Aukus currently covers nuclear-powered subs and sharing of advanced technology and information. And joining us now is former Prime Minister Scott Morrison. Scott, it is good to see you this morning. Thank you so much for your time. So let's start there. Why take China on, and Russia for that matter, in space? What are the threats or programs that we should be concerned about?
Well, space is increasingly part of what we must now do in defence. That's been true for some time. Back in 2020, we actually defined space as a warfighting domain and set our defence forces on the path to be able to participate on that. There's not a thing you do almost today, whether it's on land or in sea or in air, that doesn't depend on the assets and capabilities that you have in space. And that is only escalating. Now, currently, US and now its allies has quite a significant advantage over potential adversaries. But that is changing. I mean, we're seeing what the Chinese and Russians are doing. I mean, there's reports of even Russia having a nuclear anti-satellite weapon that they've been developing. China has increasingly more manoeuvrable satellites and developing much more sophisticated technologies, which enables them to use that to target movement of forces and other assets around the globe through their missiles and other offensive weapons. So space, whether we like it or not, is part of modern warfare, and not that we're at war in space, but it is used extensively to guide everything else that is being done in defence.
So this all comes as Donald Trump announced his Golden Dome system, which is designed to defend America from ballistic and cruise missiles. You just referred to part of it there, I think. Yeah. But might we need one of those as well down here?
Well, Golden Dome technology is still in development, and the president has made it very clear he wants to see that happen in 3 years. And the technology that is around today makes that even more achievable than it was when similar things were outlined by President Reagan many years ago. So that is the future of where things are going. It's too early to say what role Australia, I think, could play in something like that. But I have no doubt, because of Australia's unique geography and the skills that we have in working those environments, means that we can definitely play a role in supporting that. And to the extent that this capability is developed in the United States, well, it's very possible that it could be extended to other allies and partners, potentially. But I imagine the price on that would be pretty steep, certainly in the early phases. But we can play a role, and that's important because we're allies.
Now, that is true. Now, while I've got you, Scott, post-election, just looking back, what do you think the Liberal Party has to do to get back into power?
Well, I've been pretty clear since I've left politics that I restrain any comments I have on that to what I discuss directly with my former colleagues, and I'm going to keep to that plan. If I've got things to say, I say it directly with them, and I wish them very well. I wish Susan and Ted all the very best in the role. They've got a steep challenge, of course, but I'm very confident in their ability to get on with the job. It is very important that the Liberal Party and the national parties work together to make the case that we have for a very long time, and that people will be best off by having a growing economy, an entrepreneurial economy, a place where people can get ahead and not see their future dependent on the government.
Okay, we'll try and keep it more broad then, because I'm just wondering how it functions with the Nationals going forward. You never really had this kind of split that we saw here last week, but post-election, you would have seen that city voters appear to want more progressive policies, not so much in the case. So how do you balance those competing policies for the next 3 years and beyond?
Well, Australia has changed quite a lot. I think that's fair to say, whether it was in John Howard's time or the time I was there. And certainly post-COVID, I think we've seen a lot of shifts as well in how people are, what they're valuing and how they look at politics and the choices that they have. I mean, the major party votes have fallen to around 2/3 now. And that's a trend that's been going on since the 90s. And that presents new challenges. And you're right to say that that's the case. But what still is true is that people want to have aspiration. They want to get ahead. They want to see defence and national security ensure that we can have a peaceful region, and that we can get on well with our neighbours, and that we can have the services that Australians rely on. And all of that depends on a strong economy. That always remains the core message, I think, of the coalition. And, there's always tensions in the coalition, even in more easy times. But you work through them together, and I think that's what Susan in particular has done, and I commend her for doing it.
Would you be, and we'll close here, but should it be returning to that party of aspiration? Should it be looking at things such as cutting the corporate tax rate for small businesses, things like that, so people can get ahead, while also showing a point of difference between the Labor Party, because it doesn't want to just copy everything that it does, which it appeared to do the last election?
Well, look, again, I won't make a commentary on what happened at the last election, but I will say this. It has always been the heritage of the Liberal and National parties to stand for lower taxes, stronger defence, stronger national security, and an economy that can support essential services like health, education, the NDIS, all of these things. And you match that with some well-respected fiscal responsibility, and that can always put Australia in a stronger place. That has always been our position. That remains the position of the Liberal and Nationals parties, and it's important that they work together to convey that message in a time where I think people are seeing often their economic security these days more in government shielding them from economic cycles rather than the policies that help them get ahead. Now, that's understandable. COVID, I remember I was there. It was a very difficult time for people, and I think it really had a profound effect on our country and what they expected from government in the future. But it's always important that at the end of the day, we're an entrepreneurial, free country that supports people to get on and make their own futures. And I think we've always been the party that stood for that.
It's good to see you, Scott Morrison.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We'll chat to you soon.
All the best.